Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Funfold Friday. I'm Dorene Decibus, and I'm from It Begins with Ink and Paper, and I'm really glad that you're able to stop in and join me tonight for our Funfold Friday. I've got a really cute card that I'm going to show you how to make. It's called a tunnel fold, and we'll talk a little bit about that in just a minute. I have been waiting all day for my Stampin' Up! Pre-order. I thought I was going to be able to surprise you and show you some cool things tonight, but unfortunately it's still out for delivery. So I am waiting for that. So, no fun surprises. I might have to do an unboxing video sometime this weekend whenever it arrives. I've been anxiously waiting all day long. So it is Easter weekend here in the United States, and so I thought for today's Funfold Friday, I would make our Funfold into an Easter card, as I did last week as well. This is called a tunnel card, and you can see how you kind of tunnel in over the different kinds of layers. It will fold flat and fit in a normal envelope, and it will actually fold either way, whichever way you prefer. It will stand on its own, and you can hopefully see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4 different layers. I've got it on some dies here, so it's not on even surface. And I am using the Regency Park Designer Series paper, and I'm using the Easter Bunny bundle, and I am using the Easter Bunny punch. I'm not sure if it's actually in or not yet, but it will be coming back in stock, and it will be in the new catalog, so that's exciting. So let me just put this aside for a minute so I can show you what we'll be using tonight. We're going to be using the Stylish Shapes dies to create that tunnel, and I'm going to be using the outermost one, then I'm going to skip one and use the next layer, and I'm going to skip one again and use the next one. So those are the 3 dies that we're going to be using tonight. And let me just set that aside. As I said, we're using the Easter Bunny bundle, and I am going to use this bunny here, which is the stamp here, and punch it out for you, so that will be fun to see. And then I don't know if you noticed, we had this great little greeting just for you in the center of the tunnel. That greeting fits in so perfectly, and it comes from the Charming Sentiments. And the special thing about the Charming Sentiments is that it has a die, and these are papers you don't want to lose because it talks about how you use these dies. But these are dies that actually fit around the sentiments, so you don't have to do any fussy cutting, which is a lot of fun. And then there's candles and fireworks, hearts and stars. So there's other little dies in there that you can use. And then, as I said, there's this 2-sheet handout that shows you all of the different dies, and then it tells you what sentiment below it it fits. So that's an important piece to not lose. And as I said, we're using the Regency Park Designer Series paper. Let me just go over the colors that are in this. I fell in love with, I didn't buy the suite for this from the mini catalog, but I fell in love with this Designer Series paper mainly because of the colors. I'm a big blue person, so this set of Designer Series paper has Balmy Blue, Mango Melody, Night of Navy, Petal Pink, Shaded Spruce, and Sweet Sorbet. And so we will be using, as in this case, I used 2 primarily blues and then one that kind of pulled it all together on the front. For the card tonight, I decided that I was going to use a different blue on the front, and then I'm using those same 2 blue layers because I think they just go together. So nice. And let me just arrange my light a little bit to see if I can get a little more light on my desk. Whoops, that took away quite a bit of light. Let's refix that. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay, I think that's a little better. There we go. All right, so let's get started. So there is not a lot of cardstock or designer series paper that you need for this project. You're just, for tonight, I'm just using the basic white thick cardstock, the basic white regular cardstock, and the Regency Park designer series paper. So let's go over those sizes. Again, I will post these sizes at the end of my live right in the comments. While I'm getting these pieces of paper out, what I do want to mention, because I'm so excited about this, I just want to thank everyone right up front for supporting my small business through supporting my Facebook page and my YouTube channel. Yesterday, I went over 200 subscribers on my YouTube channel. Yay. Thank you so much. Seems like it was just a week or 2 weeks ago that I reached 100. So getting to the second 100 went really fast. I'm actually almost up to 220 subscribers today. And I have 229 followers on my Facebook page. So thank you so much for your support. I appreciate it greatly. Okay, so I'm getting out my score pad. So if you haven't, I'll just remind you, if you haven't subscribed or am following my Facebook page, please do so. And if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, It Begins with Ink and Paper, please do so as well. Okay, so this is just a piece of thick basic white cardstock. It is 4 1/4 inches by 11 inches, so just a half a sheet. And I am going to be scoring this first at 4 1/4, and then at 5 1/4, and then I'm going to be scoring it at 9 1/2 and at 10 1/2. So let me just go over that again. So 4 1/4, 5 1/4, get to the right spot, 9 1/2, and 10 1/2. Okay, that is on the larger piece of paper. On these two pieces of basic white cardstock, you need 2 of them. They are, they measure at 4 1/4 by 5, and you are going to be scoring actually 3/8 on one side and 4 5/8 on the other side. But because 3/8 is a pretty small piece, instead of trying to score it in that corner, I'm just going to score it at 4 5/8, and then I'm going to flip it and score at 4 5/8. And I'm going to do that with both of those pieces. So 4 5/8, turn it 180 degrees, and 4 5/8. There we go. And then, as I already said, we are going to need to have those 3 pieces of designer series paper, 3 different designs, and you want to cut them at 4 by 4. All right, so we are ready to get started. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by putting my paper on. And I want to just show you a couple of things I'm going to do. So let me just get my pencil back out. I thought I left it out, but I guess not. I have plenty of them. I just hope to find a sharpened one. As I'm pulling all of these out, there we go. Got one that's sharpened. Okay. What I want to do right now, because this is really important as I move forward, I am going to, this piece here, so we have our little tiny score line right here, the ½ inch. This panel right here is my front of my card. And I'm going to put a little arrow. It's not going to show up on that flap. I'm going to be gluing that flap down, and the arrow won't show up, to know that this is the front of the card and this is the upper piece. And I'll show you why in a few minutes. So I'm going to take, and in between the score lines, I'm going to be adhering my piece of designer series paper. When I adhere this, I want to be very careful that I don't put any adhesive in the middle of my piece of designer series paper. Let me just get this out of the way. I'm making a little mess here. Because as I'm going to be cutting out my circles with right on top of the designer series paper, and I am going to want to use both circles, so I want to make sure that I don't have any adhesive in the middle. Okay, there's that one. I'm going to do the same thing on this when I go to set up my card. So these are going to be the front, and this is going to be the top where I put those little arrows. When I put this together, I want to make sure I am putting the cut circles in the right direction, because if I don't, I could, if I didn't measure perfectly, and since I'm doing it just by looking, I won't be measuring it perfectly. I want my circles to become that perfect tunnel like I have here and have the same amount of space around each one. And if I don't know which is up and which is down, it's going to be a little difficult to do that. Okay, so now my last piece, which way, like this, I guess. This card might look difficult to make. It's not. I actually watched a video by Susie Campfield where she showed how to make it based on what you look at. There are so many different designs out there for making a tunnel card, so many different directions, so that if you Googled it on YouTube, you'd probably find many different ways to do this. So as I said, I'm going to be skipping over different ones. So I am going to be cutting this one first. And what I'm going to do is just center this, put it through my die cut machine, and it's going to come out looking like this. And I'm going to add my arrow on this one because it's the only one I didn't add one on. Now, when I go to cut my next one, so I'll skip one and take out the next die, I'm going to actually use this as my pattern. So I'm going to line up those score lines. And you can see how I can see, whoops, wrong one. Gotta make sure you do it in the right order too. So you could even put a little number on it if you want it to help remind you. Okay, so I'm lining up those score lines. There we go. And I'm going to take my die and I'm going to put it right in the middle. I'm going to use a piece of a sticky note, hold it down, and then I'll put this die through. And I will get this piece. And you can see when I line them back up by the score lines. Get as close as I can. There we go. You can see how it's lined up perfectly. And then I'm going to take this one and use as the pattern for this piece of paper. And I'm going to skip over. I'm going to line up those score lines again. And then I'm going to put my die on, stick it down with a sticky note, and then I'm going to die cut it, and I'm going to get this. So I did my die cutting before the video just to speed up the process a little bit. Okay, so now that I have all of this, I'm ready to start putting this together. But I want to, when you look at this, there's no place to really write on the front of the card. But if you look at the back, like I said, I was going to keep all of those circles. There's a place for you to do some writing on the back. So I'm going to start decorating my back and doing that stamping before I put this all together. And so let me just, I've got some things ready to go. So these are all the pieces that I cut out. So I have the 3 white pieces and I have the 3 designer series pieces. So I'm going to be stamping in Night of Navy ink, the Happy Easter. Bob has a hair appointment tomorrow, so this card is going to be his Easter card for his hairstylist. There we go. And I saved one of the little gift boxes from last week filled with some Hershey eggs and Reese's peanut butter eggs to give her a little treat. While I have this ink pad out, I am going to stamp Just For You that I'm going to use to cut out. And I'm going to stamp in Basic Gray, our little bunny, and just get all the stamping done before we put that back together. So this was the paper I stamped some bunnies on earlier, and I knew that it would fit right here. Okay, and I'm going to punch this out with the bunny punch. Very easy to line up. So I always do my punches backwards so I can see where I am lining it up. And then I just need to press and it all comes out really nice. Let's put this punch away. Over on this side. Okay, so we have our little pieces right here. And let me just get my screen fixed again. Okay, so we have our little pieces here and these pieces, so we can start putting this all together. And I'm just going to notify my husband that his dinner is here. So sorry for the little, I don't want to scream. All right, so hopefully he'll get the message that way. All right, so now I'm going to do a little coloring on the bunny, just with, this is Flirty Flamingo ink. So I'm going to just put a little pink on his ears and give him a little pink nose.
Your call has been forwarded to an automated...
All right, so our little bunny is all set. You could also pick up at a craft store some little white pom-poms to put on their tails if you want. Okay, so let's put this back together. We have all that set. So I am just going to take my circles and arrange them. I can go all the way over to the edge on these because nothing's going to be adhered on the back side. So I'm just going to put this together, put this in the lower left corner, and then I'm going to put this one in the upper left corner. And then the little one, where did the little one go? Up, it's right here. And then the little one is going to go right about here. And then I'm going to attach this so that you can still see all of the different designer series paper. So it's a nice way to use those circles up. You could also use them in another card. So there we go, and now I have a space to write some people's names and sign my card as well. Okay, so now it's time to do some gluing. I am going to use my green glue, the mono multi-purpose glue for this project, just because, you know, paper to paper glue is a really good adhesive. The other really important thing I like with the green glue is that it gives you the ability to move something if you need to move it. So just something to think about when you're choosing your adhesive for this. I want it to stay together as well, and the green glue is going to keep it together. I also want to make sure as I'm folding this, because this is going to go together like this, is that you are really creasing, because you want those creases to come and help you with that. Okay, so I want to make sure I have my, yep, everything is good. All right, so now, before I go any further, so I stamped and die cut the Just For You. I'm going to match up this piece to the back, and I'm going to use a dimensional. Let me just find the right size. I'm going to grab a dimensional, and I'm going to place it on the back, and I'm going to put this right in the center so it's in the spot I want it. So it's going to go right here. There we go. Now I'm going to give these two pieces a really nice crease. And this is the piece that I'm going to be gluing in first. And it's going to come right into that piece. Now what I want to do is make sure I'm using that arrow up piece so that I'm going to put this in correctly. And I'm going to grab my liquid glue. Just put a little bit along there. And I'm going to be placing this right along the score line. Again, making sure that arrow is showing up. Line it up. Give it a good crease. Okay, so you can see that's already going to look nice. Okay, so now I'm ready to do this piece. Again, I'm going to check for that arrow up. And this piece is going to be glued right in next to this piece here. So I'm going to add some of the glue. And we're going to just add this here so it lines up. And again, using the liquid glue, I can move it and place it where it needs to be. Okay, it's looking good so far. All right. So now for the next part, I am going to be adding some glue right on these two tabs that need to be glued. And I am going to just close this here to get it glued into space. Okay, you can see how it's looking. And then the last piece that I need to do is glue the backing. And then we'll be ready to decorate the card. So I'm going to line this up. Now you could make a tunnel card with any type of shape. So I could use the squares, but here's what the front looks like so far. All right, now let's do some decorating. So we've got our bunny ready. I also cut out a little Easter egg from this set, and I pre-tied a bow. I am not a fan of tying bows on camera, so I try to get these always tied in advance. So we're going to add a glue dot, and that's going to go right up here. There we go. I'm going to add a little adhesive on the bottom of my bunny, because I don't want adhesive going onto the back where it's going to stick forever. And again, I've got that wiggle room to move him. I just love this little bunny. And then I am going to just add a little glue on the back of my tiny, tiny egg. And I'm going to add it to the front right here. It's all right if it is over the edge a little bit, because if I fold it like this, it will still fit flat in the card, in the envelope. Okay, so that's what it looks like standing up. If you can see how we have the different layers, and this is what it looks like flat down for the recipient when they first see it. And this, again, is a tunnel card. So as you can see, it doesn't need many materials, and it doesn't, it's not very hard at all to make. For me, the biggest thing when I was making them, and this wasn't shown in the video that I watched, was putting the arrows on each piece of cardstock, because if it's not cut perfectly center and you use it the other way, you're going to come up with a kind of funky tunnel. So I'm more of a perfectionist, and I want to make sure my tunnel comes up just the way I want it. So that's it for tonight, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed this fun fold. It's been fun to share it with you. I hope you have a great Easter weekend, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel or follow my Facebook page. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Good night, everybody.